through the equipment storage room with the practiced efficiency of someone who had performed the same inspection for the past 4 centuries. Her translucent blue skin caught the dim overhead lighting, bioluminescent patterns tracing lazy soft blue waves across her arms as she checked each weapon case against her datapad. The Luminary Weapon Master's 2 large opalescent eyes scanned the inventory with methodical precision, her elegant fin crest lying flat and relaxed against her spine. Everything was in order. The plasma lances in their thermal casings, the photon blades properly charged, the gravitational weapons secured on their reinforced platforms, each one requiring specialized anti-grav systems just to move them for cleaning. She was reaching for the next datapad when she heard someone muttering, "Climate Control Station 7B. All right. Should be right around." "Here? No, wait. Maybe this corridor?" Lumini turned, her patterns flickering briefly to golden. Curiosity. A human stood near the back wall, wearing a faded gray maintenance jumpsuit covered in pockets. He held a diagnostic scanner in one hand and was squinting at a work order displayed on a small screen. His boots left scuff marks on her freshly cleaned floor. "Excuse me," Lumini said, her voice carrying the soft chiming quality of her species. "This area is restricted to—" The human looked up, spotted something behind the Graviton Mall's display stand, and his face brightened. "There it is! Finally!" He walked directly toward the mall. Lumini's patterns stuttered. "Wait, that's—" The human, Calder, according to the name patch on his jumpsuit, reached the display stand and frowned at the massive weapon blocking his access to the wall vent behind it. The Graviton Mall stood nearly as tall as he was, its dense metallic surface inscribed with warnings in 6 languages. The stand beneath it had reinforced support struts rated for extreme mass. Calder grabbed the mall's handle with one hand and lifted it. The world seemed to slow down for Lumini. Her bioluminescent patterns exploded into chaotic rainbow strobing. Her fin crest shot upright, rippling with shock. Every one of her carefully organized datapads slipped from her arms and clattered to the floor. The human moved the Graviton Mall aside, like someone relocating a broom. He set it down against the wall with a heavy thunk that sent hairline cracks spiderwebbing through the reinforced flooring. Then he pulled a small tool from his belt and started examining the vent cover. Lumini couldn't breathe. Her patterns were cycling through colors so fast she was probably visible from outside the building. The Graviton Mall. 4,300 standard units of mass. Requires a 4-person lift team with full harness support and anti-grav assist just to move it onto the maintenance cart. She'd seen champions spend years training just to lift one edge of it. This human had picked it up one-handed. "Sorry about barging in," Calder said, not looking away from the vent. "I've been wandering around for like 45 minutes trying to find Climate Control Station 7B. Your building layout is really confusing. Is this 7B? Lumini tried to speak. Nothing came out, except a high-pitched chiming sound. Calder glanced over his shoulder, saw her distress, and his expression shifted to concern. "Oh, hey, are you okay? You're doing the light thing. Is that bad?" He looked around, noticed the cracked floor near where he'd set them all. "Oh man, did I break something? I can fill out a damage report. I've got the forms in my truck." He thought she was upset about the floor. Lumine's patterns flickered to silver, the color of alarm mixed with complete cognitive dissonance. She pointed at the mall, then at him, then back at the mall. Her hand was shaking. She managed. That? The weapon thing?" Calder looked at where he'd set it. "Yeah, sorry. I needed to get to the vent. Should I not have moved it? Was it like historically significant or something?" "Historically significant. The Graviton Mall. forged in the gravitational crush of a dying star. Used by arena champions for 3,000 years, currently held the record for most injuries caused during training attempts. "Please," Lumini whispered, her voice barely functional. "Put it back." "Oh, sure." Calder walked over, grabbed the maul's handle again, one hand, casual grip, and lifted it. More floor cracking as he shifted position. He carried it back to the display stand and set it down with careful precision, like someone returning a borrowed screwdriver. "There you go. Really sorry about the floor. This stuff is usually tougher than that." He returned to examining the vent, completely unaware that Lumini's entire understanding of physics had just collapsed. She heard heavy footsteps in the corridor. A moment later, Cross filled the doorway, his massive, Vex-Corian frame blocking most of the light from the hall. The reigning arena champion's slate-gray hide gleamed under the overhead lights, silver fur patches bristling slightly, as his two violet eyes fixed on Lumine's still chaotic bioluminescence. "Weapon Master," his deep voice rumbled. "I heard." He stopped, nostrils flaring as he scented the air. His gaze dropped to the cracked flooring. "What happened?" Lumine's patterns pulsed rapid golden bursts, excitement mixed with lingering silver alarm. The human. He lifted. The maul. One hand. Just lifted it. Cross's hide immediately darkened from slate gray toward charcoal. His silver fur stood completely on end. The thick tail behind him began a slow, dangerous lashing motion. "What?" "I saw it." He picked it up like it was nothing. The champion's eyes narrowed to slits. A low, rumbling growl built in his chest. "Impossible. I watched him do it. I've spent 30 years training with that weapon." Cross's voice dropped to a dangerous register. His hide was now fully charcoal, and his fangs were visible past his lips. 30 years. And you're telling me some maintenance worker just walked in and... "I know what I saw." Calder's voice drifted over from the vent. Sorry to interrupt, but do either of you know where Climate Control Station 7B actually is? Because I'm pretty sure this isn't it." Cross's head swiveled toward the human. His fur bristled even more aggressively. He stalked forward, each footstep deliberate, tail sweeping behind him. He stopped in front of Calder, who had turned around and now had to crane his neck up to meet the champion's eyes. "You," Cross growled, touched. "The maul." "The big hammer thing?" Calder gestured toward the display stand. "Yeah, sorry. It was in my way. I moved it back, though." "Moved it?" "Yeah." "With your hands?" "I mean, yes." Calder looked confused. "How else would I move it?" Cross turned to Lumine, his expression clearly, saying, "This is the creature you're afraid of?" She met his gaze, her patterns pulsing insistently. The champion turned back to Calder, studying him. Average build. No visible augmentation. No exoskeleton. No harness system. Just a maintenance worker in a dirty jumpsuit. "The Graviton Maul," Cross said slowly, "weighs 4,300 standard units." "Okay," Calder said. "It requires a 4-person lift team." "That seems excessive, but sure." "Champions train for years to even attempt lifting it." "It's definitely heavy," Calder agreed, "but not that heavy." The rumbling in Cross's chest grew louder. His hide had gone completely dark. "Show me." "Show you what?" "Lift. The maul." Calder looked over at Lumini, clearly hoping she'd explain what was happening. Her patterns were cycling between golden excitement and silver alarm so fast she looked like a malfunctioning light display. He looked back at Cross. "Listen, I'm just trying to find the climate control unit. Can one of you point me toward..." "Lift them all." Cross's voice shook the weapon racks. Okay. Calder raised his hands placatingly. "I'll lift the thing. Then can someone please tell me where I'm supposed to be? He walked over to the display stand. Luminae's patterns went pure white. Terror. Cross's fur stood so rigidly on end, he looked twice his normal size. His tail had stopped lashing and gone completely still, the way it did before a competition match. Calder wrapped one hand around the maul's handle, paused, then added his second hand for better grip. He lifted the graviton maul off its stand with a slight grunt of effort. More cracks appeared in the reinforced flooring where his boots pressed down. He held it at waist height, looking expectantly at Cross. Like this? Did you want me to hold it a specific way? Luminae made a sound like breaking glass. Her fin crest was vibrating so fast it was a blur. Cross stood frozen. His mouth had fallen open, showing all of his fangs. His hide had gone from charcoal to a pale gray that the Vexcorian species only displayed in extreme shock. His eyes were so wide, the violet irises looked like coins. So, Calder shifted his grip on the maul. Where did you want this? Cross's pride, already wounded, made a decision his rational mind would later regret. His hide slowly darkened, back from shock pale to its normal slate gray, though his fur remained bristling. He drew himself up to his full 7 feet, tail sweeping in a wide arc behind him. The arena, he said, voice tight with barely controlled emotion. We do this properly, with witnesses. Luminae's patterns flickered uncertainly between colors. Cross, I don't think... He claims the maul is not that heavy. The champion's fangs were fully visible now, not in threat, but in something closer to desperate determination. If this human can truly handle the graviton maul as he suggests, then let it be documented. Let it be seen. His voice dropped. Let my eyes be proven wrong. Calder set the maul down, more floor damage, and pulled out his work order again. Look, I really just need to find Climate Control Station 7B. I'm already 45 minutes behind schedule and... After, Cross interrupted. Help me with this demonstration, and I will personally escort you to every climate control station in this district. Really? Calder's face brightened. That would actually be super helpful. This place is like a maze. Then we have an agreement. Luminae watched this exchange with growing concern, her patterns pulsing soft blue mixed with golden curiosity. The scientist in her wanted documentation. 400 years as weapon master, and she'd never seen anything like this. But the part of her that had watched countless warriors injure themselves on that same weapon, worried about what was about to happen. Calder picked up the graviton maul again, one-handed this time, carrying it like a briefcase, and followed Cross toward the corridor. Luminae grabbed her datapad and hurried after them, her fin crest rippling with agitation. The grand arena floor stretched out before them, a massive circular space of polished obsidian that reflected the dramatic overhead lighting. Weapon racks lined the walls, each one holding implements of increasing lethality. The viewing platforms above stood empty. It wasn't a competition day, but Luminae had the distinct feeling this demonstration would become legendary anyway. Calder set the maul down in the center of the arena. The obsidian cracked. He looked down at the damage, winced, then looked up at Cross hopefully. Is there like a security deposit for this kind of thing, or does it come out of the building's maintenance budget? Cross didn't answer. He was staring at the newest crack in his arena floor, his hide flickering between gray and charcoal. His tail had gone completely still. Luminae moved to the side, pulled up her recording interface on her datapad, and began documenting. Her scientific training took over, patterns settling into focused golden pulses. If this was happening, if physics was breaking, she would at least have proof. Calder, she said, her chiming voice carefully controlled. Please lift the graviton maul again. Just pick it up? Yes. He shrugged, bent down, and lifted it with both hands, held it at waist height. Like this. For how long? Lumini checked her datapad's chronometer and began timing. Her patterns brightened with scientific fascination. Just hold it. Tell me when your arms tire. Okay. Calder stood there, holding 4,300 standard units of mass, looking mildly bored. After 10 seconds, he asked, should I be doing something specific? Lumini's opalescent eyes were glued to her datapad. Current arena record for unassisted maul hold. 0.4 seconds before the competitor's shoulder joints catastrophically failed. Current time, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 30. You can set it down now, she whispered. Calder lowered the maul. Cross, who had been watching in rigid silence, suddenly moved. He strode toward the champion's preparation chamber at the arena's edge, his footsteps heavy with purpose. What's he doing? Calder asked. Proving something to himself, Lumini said quietly. Her patterns had gone soft blue, sympathy mixed with sadness. She'd seen that look before, on warriors who just realized their entire understanding of strength was about to be demolished. Cross emerged from the preparation chamber, wearing his full competition harness. The reinforced support system, wrapped around his shoulders, back, and legs, with hydraulic assists at every major joint. It was the culmination of 50 years of engineering, designed specifically to let him compete with the graviton maul. He'd won 50 consecutive victories wearing this harness. He positioned himself next to the maul, engaged the harness systems with a series of clicks and whirs, and gripped the weapon with both hands. The hydraulics whined. His silver fur stood completely on end. The hide across his shoulders began to glow faintly as his body channeled maximum effort. Every muscle in his frame tensed. The graviton maul lifted 3 inches off the ground. Cross held it there, shaking with effort, for 5 seconds. Then he lowered it with extreme care and disengaged the harness. His breathing was labored. His hide was dark charcoal from exertion. You see? He said to Calder, though his voice lacked its earlier confidence. Proper technique, proper equipment. Calder nodded politely. That's a really nice setup. Must be good for your back. Lot of support there. Cross's tail twitched. Lumini cleared her throat. Calder, do you require any support equipment? For what? For lifting the maul. Calder looked at the weapon, then at Cross's elaborate harness system, then back at Lumini. I mean, it's heavy, but not that. Heavy? He reached down and picked up the maul again, this time demonstrating his two-handed grip. See? This way gives you better control. More balanced. Cross made a sound somewhere between a growl and a whimper. Lumine was frantically scrolling through her datapad, pulling up records she'd maintained for centuries. Training protocols, weight classifications, historical data. The graviton maul, 4,300 standard units. She pulled up the human database entry. Average human lifting capacity, 60 to 80 standard units. The math didn't work. The biology didn't work. The physics didn't work. How long? She asked carefully. Can you hold that position? I don't know. Calder adjusted his grip slightly. Until my arms get tired, I guess. Do you want me to move it somewhere specific? I feel like I'm just standing here. Please, Cross said, his voice strained. Put it down. Calder set the maul down. Cross's hide had gone pale gray again. He seemed to be having an internal crisis. His tail dragged on the ground. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet. The true test of strength. From the old combat texts. Lumini's patterns flashed silver. Cross, no. Those positions are theoretical. No one has ever described them, Cross interrupted, looking at her. For our guest. She hesitated, then pulled up the ancient combat manual on her datapad. Her voice took on the formal tone of instruction. 3 positions. First, defensive stance. The weapon is held at chest height, both hands, ready to block. Calder picked up the maul and held it horizontally across his chest. Like this? Yes, Lumini whispered, her patterns going white. Second position, offensive stance. The weapon is held overhead, prepared for a downward strike. Calder lifted the graviton maul over his head. His arms were fully extended. The overhead lights cast dramatic shadows across the arena floor. This seems unsafe, but okay. Cross had sat down on the arena floor. His tail was wrapped around his legs. He was staring at nothing. Third position, Lumini continued, her voice barely functional. Combat spin. A full rotation with the weapon extended, generating momentum for... like this. Calder began turning, the maul extended to his side. Wait! Lumini shouted. Too late. Calder completed a full rotation. The graviton maul's momentum carried it through the arc. It clipped the edge of a weapon rack. The entire rack, reinforced steel, bolted to the obsidian floor, tore free and crashed across the arena with a sound like a shuttle crash. Calder stopped spinning, looking horrified at the destruction. Oh no. Oh man, is that coming out of my deposit? Lumini's patterns were strobing so fast, she looked like a technical malfunction. Her fin crest was vibrating. Her datapad had fallen from her hands. She knelt down, picked it up with shaking hands, and stared at the recordings she'd made. The physics didn't work. Nothing about this worked. She pulled up human baseline data again, cross-referenced with Vex-Corian strength metrics, ran the calculations 3 times. Calder had just casually demonstrated strength approximately 75 times the human average. He'd held positions that theoretically required bone density his species didn't possess. He'd moved a weapon that should have torn his muscles from his skeleton, and he was worried about a deposit. Cross stood up slowly. His hide was now completely pale gray, the color Vex-Corians only showed in surrender. He looked at Calder, then at the destroyed weapon rack, then at the graviton maul resting innocently on the cracked obsidian floor. 30 years, he said quietly. I've trained for 30 years with that weapon. Calder's expression shifted to genuine concern. Hey, are you okay? You don't look so good. I've won 50 consecutive victories. That's really impressive. I am the strongest warrior in this arena. I bet you are. That harness system was really cool. Cross's tail swept listlessly across the floor. I'm retiring. What? No! Calder looked genuinely distressed. Don't retire because of me. I'm just a maintenance guy. You're a champion. Was, Cross corrected. Was a champion. Before I learned that somewhere in the galaxy, there's a species that considers our ultimate weapons to be not that heavy. Lumini approached them both, her patterns finally settling into a steady, exhausted, soft blue. She looked at Calder with her large, opalescent eyes. Why are you here? What brought you to this facility? Calder pulled out his work order, relief flooding his face. Finally. Okay, so I got called to fix the climate control at Climate Control Station 7B. The address was kind of smudged on the order, and I think I ended up at the wrong building. This is the Grand Arena, right? Yes, Lumini said. Right, I need the Municipal Climate Control Station. Different building? Different district. Calder's face fell. Oh no, I've been lost for like an hour. Lumine pulled up a map on her datapad and transmitted it to his scanner. 3 districts north. Large gray building. Says climate control on the front. Thank you so much. Calder beamed at her. He looked at Cross. Hey, feel better, okay? You seem really cool. That harness thing was seriously impressive. Must have taken a lot of engineering. He started toward the arena exit, then paused. He turned back, looking at the Graviton Mall still resting on the cracked floor. Oh, should I put that back in the storage room before I go? I mean, I did take it out. Lumini and Cross exchanged glances. Her patterns flickered with exhausted amusement. His hide had started returning to normal slate gray, though his tail remained limp. We'll handle it, Lumini said. You sure? It's on my way out. Very sure. Okay, if you're certain. Calder gave them both a friendly wave. Thanks again for the directions, and sorry about all the, cracks and stuff. He disappeared into the corridor. His footsteps echoed away, eventually fading to silence. Cross walked slowly to the Graviton Mall. He looked down at it, then at his harness still hanging from his frame, then back at the weapon. With deliberate movements, he began disconnecting the harness systems. Each click sounded final. What are you doing? Lumini asked softly. What does it look like? Cross set the harness pieces aside. If I need this much equipment to do what he does casually before checking on air conditioning, then what's the point? The point is, you're a champion. 50 victories, Cross. That's not nothing. 50 victories against opponents who lived in the same reality I did. His tail dragged across the obsidian as he moved toward the arena exit. That human just showed me there's a different reality. One where I'm not strong. Where everything I've trained for is quaint. Lumini watched him go, her patterns, pulsing sad blue. When his footsteps faded, she looked back at her datapad. The recordings were there. The proof. The impossible made real. She sat down on the cracked obsidian floor, pulled up her contact list, and began composing messages. The Arena Safety Council needed to know. The engineering department needed to recalculate load-bearing requirements. The medical division needed to update their injury prediction models. 400 years of documentation, all of it suddenly questionable. Her fin crest rippled as she worked, bioluminescent patterns steady with focused golden light. This was going to take months, maybe years. They'd need to study humans more carefully, understand their baseline capabilities, adjust every standard they had. Somewhere in the distance, that air conditioning unit hummed along, blissfully unaware it had just changed the course of galactic athletic history. Lumini's patterns flickered briefly with dark humor. She saved her recordings, backed them up to 3 separate systems, and stood. The Graviton Mall sat in the center of the arena, surrounded by cracked obsidian, looking exactly as dangerous and legendary as it always had. Except now she knew that somewhere out there, an entire species could move it to check on ventilation systems. Humans, she muttered, echoing Cross's earlier sentiment. Her patterns pulsed tired blue as she headed for her office. They're absolutely going to ruin everything.